Commander Sarah Chen stood before the crystalline monument, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air of the abandoned world. The structure pulsed with a faint, dying light, the last beacon of the Vorthak Collective, a civilization that had ruled the Andromeda Galaxy for 10 million years before vanishing without a trace. Translation complete, her AI companion announced. "You're not going to believe this, Commander." Sarah had spent 3 years searching for answers. 3 years since humanity had detected the sudden silence from Andromeda. 3 years since 2 trillion souls simply ceased all communication. The United Earth Fleet had sent her expedition as both a rescue mission and a fact-finding endeavor. What they found instead was a graveyard spanning an entire galaxy. "Show me," she commanded. The holographic text materialized before her eyes, written in a script that predated human civilization by eons. But the message was clear, translated into perfect English. "To those who come after, we were the Vorthak, masters of 17,000 worlds, shepherds of technology beyond comprehension. We thrived for epochs uncounted, and in our arrogance we believed ourselves eternal. This is our final testimony, our warning carved into the bones of our dead galaxy. We encountered them 30 cycles ago. Your time measurement would call it 300 years. They called themselves humans. A young species barely capable of faster-than-light travel. Their ships held together with what we considered primitive alloys and outdated fusion drives. We laughed at them. We pitied them. Then we made our fatal mistake. The Clintar swarm had invaded the outer rim, consuming worlds as they had done for millennia. We calculated the resources required to stop them and found the cost unacceptable. 12 species would be sacrificed. Primitive, meaningless, barely sentient. The mathematics were simple. We would save ourselves the expense and allow the swarm to feed, then destroy them when they were sated and vulnerable. The humans heard the distress calls from those 12 species. Their fleets were in the area, a mere 40 ships against the billions of the swarm. We warned them. We showed them our calculations. We explained that interference would accomplish nothing but their own extinction. They attacked anyway. We watched, fascinated despite ourselves, as those 40 human ships dove into certain death. They used tactics we had never conceived, reckless, illogical, beautiful in their desperation. They rammed their own vessels into swarm hive ships. They detonated their reactors in suicide runs. They broadcast messages of hope to the dying species, even as their own crews perished. 37 human ships were destroyed in the first hour. The last 3 continued fighting for 6 more hours until reinforcements arrived, not from Earth, but from the very species we had deemed worthless. The primitives had armed themselves with human weapons, learned human tactics, and joined the battle. Together they won. The swarm was driven back. 12 meaningless species survived, and we, the mighty Vorthak, learned something that would eventually destroy us. Humanity did not care about our calculations. They did not care about cost-benefit analyses or acceptable losses or strategic value. They cared only that someone was calling for help, and that they could answer. This, we learned, was not an anomaly. This was their nature. We became obsessed. We studied them across centuries. We watched as they uplifted dozens of species, shared their technology freely, protected the weak without asking for anything in return. We saw them take in refugees from wars that were not their own. We observed them negotiate peace between ancient enemies. We witnessed them sacrifice their own prosperity to feed hungry worlds light years away. And slowly, insidiously, we changed. Our younger generations asked, why do we calculate acceptable losses? Why do we measure the value of life in resources? Why are we not like the humans? We resisted, of course. We were the Vorthak. We were logical, efficient, supreme. But the question spread like a virus. Our empire began to fracture as worlds chose compassion over calculation. Our fleets refused orders to abandon endangered species. Our scientists shared our most guarded secrets with those we once considered beneath us. Then came the cataclysm. A threat from dark space beyond our galactic rim. An enemy that could only be stopped with the complete sacrifice of our core worlds. Billions of Vorthak lives, our greatest cities, our ancient heritage. The old calculations would have dictated retreat. We would have fled, established ourselves elsewhere, accepted the loss of lesser species as unfortunate but necessary. But we had learned from the humans. We had been infected by their madness, their beautiful, terrible belief that every life matters, that no one is expendable, that the strong must protect the weak even unto death. So we made our stand. We saved 17,000 species. We stopped the darkness from spreading. And we died doing it. This is our last message, transmitted through the ruins of our civilization. If you encounter humanity, if you meet these insane, compassionate, impossibly stubborn beings, do not underestimate them. Do not mock their sentiment. Do not try to teach them your cold logic. And above all, never, never stop humans from protecting the weak. Because if you succeed, if you convince them to abandon their nature, to embrace calculation over compassion, you will have extinguished the most powerful force in the universe. We learned this too late. We learned it as we died. But we died as something better than we were. We died as they taught us to live. Sarah Chen stood in silence, tears freezing on her cheeks. Around her, the monument's light finally faded, its message delivered. Behind her, her crew had gathered, reading the same words, understanding the same truth. "Ma'am," her first officer whispered, "there are 43 distress calls in nearby galaxies. The Council has already sent a fleet to intercept." Sarah nodded slowly, a fierce pride burning in her chest. The Vorthak had left them a warning, but also a legacy. Humanity had changed an entire galaxy simply by being what they were, and they would do it again. "Prepare the ship," she commanded. "Those 43 worlds need help, and we're going to answer. No matter the cost, because that's what humans did. That's what they would always do. And the universe was better for it."